Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion plays Kerbal Space Program. Basically, I'm gonna get something accomplished on this episode. Now, we have, I hired a new astronaut because I accidentally stranded the other one. Wait, he might just be on the launch pad. Give me a second here. Let me go. I just upgraded the astronaut training complex and hired someone new, but where is... What happened to Hoodner? He's KIA? Oh, well, you know what? That's fine. We needed a hard reset anyway. Whenever I get to the point that I'm not making progress in something, this is kind of rich of me to say, considering we haven't been doing that well in Kerbal ever, but there have been some good episodes. I think it's time to refocus and remember that just learning one thing per episode is a great habit to get in. So I took 20 minutes out of my day, I know what you're going to say, like, freaking finally, and watched a Quill video, one of his Kerbal Space Program for beginner, absolute beginner tutorials, and I learned about something called Asparagus staging. So thank you to Quill for making that. I'm going to lift your, this Quill 18, by the way, on YouTube in case you're not familiar with him. He is me, but smarter in almost every way. I might have him beat in song parody lyrics, but otherwise, he's what I internally think of myself as, despite not quite being there from an execution-based standpoint yet. So, Asparagus staging, and again, you should watch his tutorial, because I'm basically just lifting his design wholesale. We're going to call this Asparagus staging. I believe the episode from him was called How to Go Really, Really Far. This could completely revolutionize my rocket designs. So basically, I want to rescue Jeb. I don't think it's going to happen on this episode, but we're going to make some steps that will allow us to rescue Jeb in the future. So the first thing that we've done, forever here, is we're going to make a final stage. We need a crew cabin now that I think about it again. So, the lander section is still very much, is it payload? Where was it? Utility? Yeah. Landing this thing might still be kind of a nightmare. But we can actually use Asparagus staging even on this final stage right here. But I'm not going to do so yet. You think this thing can make it back through orbit? Probably. Yeah, dude, why not? Okay, so what do we put on here? It's always like a heat shield on the bottom. I know right now this looks exactly the same as like all of our other ones. Don't sweat it. It's gonna change. We're supposed to get science from the moon as well, which is probably where we should worry about transmitting instead. But I'm going to be honest with you, the point of this one is going to be to construct a rocket that can go much farther and much more efficiently at that, rather than accomplishing our goals. So if this thing is incapable of making it back into Kerbin without exploding, and it seems fairly plausible to me given that, this thing is huge, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So put the science up a little higher, put this down here, and then we'll add a decoupler. Then, here, we essentially want... don't worry about this too much for now. Let's just say that this is how it's going to be. There's going to be like a little engine on here. Previously, we've been using the Terrier, so we'll use the Terrier again, at which point there will be another decoupler, and we'll troubleshoot this in just a sec. So, basically, re-entry, lander, and then this is going to be the stage that takes us to orbit. So we're going to talk about something called Asparagus staging. Essentially, to paraphrase Quill, this allows us to get the maximum distance that we conceivably can out of a rocket design. So if we put 3 of these fuel tanks on here, and then 1 engine, and because he used swivels, I'm going to use swivels as well. Because apparently, again, first off, he called these gimbling engines, and I went, I don't know what the heck that means, and then he explained that they have a thrust vector, which means they can actually steer, whereas some of the other thrusters are incapable of steering, which was, like, complete news to me. We probably have engines that might work better for this, but anyway. This rocket, assuming it can even take off, given the fact that it's extremely heavy here, is capable of going X distance, basically determined by the thrust of the engine, dampened by air drag and the weight of all these fuel tanks and miscellaneous stuff up here at the top. If we want this to go further, one of the things that I've been doing and not even realizing that it's idiocy is grabbing this you know, our stage 1 stack, basically, and just basically triplicating it, or duplicating it and then attaching it. He told me something that I was unaware of, which is the fact that this basically goes exactly the same distance. Well, it doesn't actually. To go exactly the same distance, it would have to have all of this stuff on top of it as well, but it doesn't actually multiply your ability to travel as much as you would expect, but there is a way to make it do that. So, and the way that you do that is via these external fuel ducts. So we're just gonna quickly basically replicate his design here, and I believe that, you know, in many ways, my idiocy is the inspiration for his series, so I don't feel bad. I don't look at it as plagiarism as much as I look at it as finally, you know, doing what the teacher told me to do after trying, you know, to come up with a better design forever for no reason. All right, so the way that it works is you get these radial decouplers, and then you would double this, remove, well, you would attach these, of course, and then you would remove the radial decouplers. I gotta admit, he's a little better with the interface as well. Yeah, we've got this attached all wrong. Okay, no, you got it now, you got it. All right, so we'd attach these to the radial decouplers as symmetrically as possible. Why are you not attaching to the decoupler itself? This is what bothers me sometimes. It was supposed to be so easy. Dude, I'm actually losing my mind. You know what? Give me some regular old symmetry here for a second. Just attach to the... We've had this happen so many times that it doesn't attach to the decouplers, and it makes me want to die. What if we did it like this? So we attached the decoupler ourselves. You know what, buddy? Get out of here. You've proven that you... We'll build it by hand, okay? One step at a freaking time here. Radial decoupler, roughly there, and then we want 3 fuel tanks that were the 800 model. Sorry, this one right here. Times 3. Sorry, times 2. So used to the trilateral symmetry. There we go. Okay. And then you just stack them up. It's not necessarily perfect, but it looks pretty good. So again, you might be wondering, what the heck are you doing, NL? You've essentially just created exactly what you said would not work. Oh ho ho, or have I? By using these fuel ducts, which are over here in fuel tanks, and then moving from exterior to interior, and you can see that it's done so on this side as well. Essentially what we've done now that we staged these properly is, well, I mean, let's just step through it, like debugger style. So what we're gonna do is all 3 engines are gonna fire at once, but while they're firing, the fuel ducts are gonna drain fuel from this tank and put it into the central tank. So these 3 fuel tanks on this side and these 3 fuel tanks on this side are gonna drain faster than the one in the center. And in fact, the one in the center is not gonna drain at all, even though it will look like it is. Because it's at an equilibrium of burning it, well, using fuel at essentially the same rate that fuel is coming in. So then we would decouple using these 2 radial decouplers. We didn't put a second radial decoupler on, did we? I don't want to talk about it. Either way. Well, I mean, we should set it up with bilateral symmetry. Okay. Either way, then we'll dump what is essentially the dead weight, and the middle engine will still have 100% fuel and will continue to burn. So essentially, we have now created a situation where we get a lot of, like, at launch, but we have the sustain that comes in the second stage, because we're basically creating this rocket 8,000 kilometers in the air, because it's going to have 100% fuel and the one engine working. So, I mean, I'll spare you... Again, the belabored explanation. You should watch Quill if you want what I would describe as a more sound explanation of how it works. I'm basically, again, reiterating the teacher's lesson. But we're going to go one step further, like he did. And we're going to... Again, he just duplicated it, and that's why he's a wizard, and I am... You know, not even... I'm still trying to, like, get into Hogwarts. I'm at Hogwarts Community College right now, like, hoping I can shore up my grades a little bit and then transfer to a 4-year wizarding school for astronauts. And Quill is over here, you know, teaching the classes, basically. So it's exactly the same situation here. We're just going to take our fuel ducts, and this time, instead of moving them to the center, we're going to move them to these ones. And it's exactly the same methodology, assuming I've organized this correctly. All 5 stages, as long as we put these all the engines in the right spot here. That's 5 engines. No, wait. 6 engines? That's 5. Brain, are you okay? All 5 engines are going to fire right off the bat. Then, we're going to decouple these tanks, because they're going to be empty. The 3 remaining tanks will be full. Then, when these 2 outer tanks are empty, we're going to decouple those, and the central tank will still be full. And then when we decouple that, we'll be ready for our lander stage. I'm just going to tell you straight up, this might be far too much fuel to actually, like, make it to the moon. We might have to decouple way too early. But if this works, then this is like a revolution for us. I know it works, but if we've built it correctly, then it's a revolution for us in terms of rocket design, because we can stop dealing with the absolute like garbage rockets I've been making freehand, and instead we can, you know, start to use some actual science maybe. So we need to get our staging 100% correct here. That's important. We've got 5 engines firing right off the bat. Then we want these. I mean, what decoupler is this? I've gotten lost in myself. This is the stage we want to detach second, which is not this one. So these ones are going to fire first. I don't know where the 3rd decoupler is. Like, why are you over here? And then these 2 are going to go after that. I think we have like 1 extraneous decoupler or something. And then this one and this engine are going to fire. I think this is correct, so let's just do the last thing here. And again, this is taken wholesale from Quill, but essentially attach some struts to make the stages, or sorry, to make the fuel tanks actually hold together a little bit better, because otherwise there's going to be some colossal wobble. Maybe we should have winglets or some controlled surfaces on this, but I don't necessarily think it's 100% necessary, so the last thing we'll do is put some, you know, structural stability enhancers on us like this. Sure, let's give this a shot. And who's our crew here? Yeah, Donka, you got it. So we're going to try to launch this, and this could, again, be a revolution in rocket design for us. That's the dream, anyway. So we got 5 engines firing right off the bat. Then we decouple those ones. Then we decouple these ones. Yeah, I think this is going to work. So SAS on, throttle up all the way. And what we're going to see here is a lot slower of an ascent. But that, I've got to train myself to recall that this is actually not a bad thing. That this, even though I'm used to going up like at the speed of sound right off the bat, basically, got to remind myself it's actually completely okay for this to happen. Now, I'll tell you straight up, something ain't going right here. Because, well, let's just drag these out. My display looks different than Quill's, but I got to determine if that's due to like improper setup of the fuel lines or what. Because certainly, like, one of these fuel tanks in the center is not draining. And that's exactly what we want, is for it to stay steady. But all of them look like they're going down at roughly the same rate, except for this one. So I think maybe our second stage was not set up properly. Let me look here. But I thought it was. Like, in Quills, they went down at variable rates, which was a big difference maker, and also let him know when to fire the staging, which I think is important. I guess we can just look and see when the engines run out of fuel. Like, okay. It also says we have 6 engines here, but this is like... I don't know, what does the orange engine indicate? Either way, our apoapsis is rising nicely here. So, I mean, this ship seems more than capable of making it to orbit. Of course, you know, you would ideally want to throw in like a gravity turn here. It's got a little wobble associated with it. We could probably, at this point, like, throttle down greatly as well. But you can see, like, in theory, it's working the way that we intended, more or less. I guess we might as well cut that phase there. It's working the way that we intended, more or less. And I really do mean more or less, because the outer fuel tanks, I mean, again, it's kind of a hard way to describe it, but the central fuel tank should be full, but the 2 outer fuel tanks that are going to be part of our next stage should be full as well. So I think we have our ducts attached incorrectly. But for now, I mean, this ship is, in case it's not abundantly clear, like, substantially more capable of getting us into orbit quickly than our past one, which was, I mean, it got us there quickly, but not efficiently is probably a better way to describe it. So I was just doing this to get us basically pivoted properly here. We might as well just prove that it works. So let's you know, warp to what is essentially our apoapsis here, and then enter an orbit, and then hopefully things will become clear to me when we begin our staging for the next one. This, again, it looks hideous, so get off the screen, please. All right, so I'm just gonna burn like this. And we're getting to orbit on the first stage of our rocket, which is not the way that things have gone in the past. Ideally, when we run out of fuel, and again, these should have... Wait, that one in the center does not have 100% fuel. I must have it, like, not equipped properly. Also, does this mean they're out of fuel? Are not all 5 firing? I mean, it looks like all 5 are firing. It's searing a hole into my retina right now, so... Okay. You all ran out of fuel. What's going on here? Oh my god. After all that, they weren't even attached via the radial decouplers. I'm so mad. Just land yourself on the freaking surface of the sun at this point. I'm furious. Hey, we did enter orbit, though. But we're going to revert flight, because this is the one that bums me out the most. And this is the only one, by the way, for which I will yell at Kerbal Space Program. Not the developers. Sure, the developers are lovely people. But I'm going to yell at the game because when they're not attached via radial decouplers, I want to die. What bums me out is that you look like you're... Okay, launch for a second here. Because I just want to... I want to launch. I want to launch. 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 You know, I want to rock. Great song. Yeah, okay. First off, this was just a test of our security features, and I gotta say, you did not pass. Revert to launch. Staging is wrong is the thing. We'll just double tap to be silly boys. Yeah, you lived this time. Okay, good. Yeah, you learned something. Okay, revert to launch. All right, I'll tell you what. Instead of pressing spacebar twice quickly, let's put these up here. All right. Then what I want to do is test the decouplers. Does not work, dude. These things are still extraordinarily coupled. Who needs a space plane, dude? I mean, that one I bricked on purpose. So I'm a little mad because my genius idea that I stole wholesale from another person didn't work out here. So we're just gonna, I'm gonna do it the old-fashioned way again. Are you attached to the... Am I losing it? I might actually be losing my mind. See, okay, now that one is attached for certain. Just had it in a weird place, I guess. And you know what? What's funny is that even not working as intended, it was still more efficient than my previous rocket designs. Which is really funny, actually. That the botched execution of Quill's rocket was still more efficient than mine. I mean, I'm looking at this right now and I'm like, yeah, this looks right. All right. So again, the purpose of this one is not to land on the moon necessarily. I mean, that's the purpose of this rocket, is to get a lander onto the moon. In which case we should probably put some landing gear on it. Yeah, good idea. But mostly it's just to demonstrate that I've learned a little bit. So choose a phase. I mean, these ones are going to feed... It doesn't matter where you place this, by the way. These ones are going to feed into here. Just try not to clip through the fuel tank just in case. And then these ones are going to feed into here. Okay, let's try that again. These ones are going to feed into here. Sick. Again, there might be a... Oh, it's not bilateral symmetry right now, so we got to do the same thing on the other side. So these ones feed into the center. Should probably just turn bilateral symmetry on. Doesn't seem like that one worked. Doesn't seem like that one worked. Tell you what about this one right there? There you go. Okay. And then these ones are going to feed into here. All right. Final steps. Struts. Excuse me? Excuse me, sir. I'm not going to put a strut on a boost. Oh, you're cheesing me. You're cheesing me so hard right now. Get this trash out of here. You're gone, okay? How in the world would that make any sense? I guess I'll place the struts manually. No, it's cool. I wanted to do it this way. So it'll go like that. Oh, you're testing me. You're testing me, but you know what? I'm gonna rise to the occasion. I'm gonna be the bigger man. This is gonna be like the most solid structure you have ever seen in your life. It does require a little bit more troubleshooting, in case you hadn't noticed. First off, because I am doing this for the first time ever. Secondly, we got to get all of the engines on the right spot, and then we got to stage these in the proper order. So these ones feed into the center, so these ones don't go first. These ones, and we need to make a separate stage for them, actually. These ones go first, then these ones go. Dots arrive like butterflies. And this, okay, yeah. And then the final, let's just, at this point, again, let's get it down into more manageable chunks. This is not a good-looking lander. I think that's very clear. If we wanted to make it a good-looking lander, what we might want to do is attach, 3 fuel tanks here at the top. You know what? Let's go with 4, because we already got some quadrilateral symmetry going here. And they put some aerodynamic nose cones on those as well. And then we will very quickly put some landing gear on the outside. And we'll save this. So this is our asparagus staging test, and the last thing, again, is structural. Put this, like, here. Should be fine. Is it staged correctly? No, because these need to be up here. Save it again so we don't have to go through that. Okay, this one should actually work, assuming that the radial decouplers are attached properly. The reason it didn't work before is because the fuel tanks were actually feeding into each other, because they were adjacent. So instead, this should work. It's a little heavier, so it's taken a little longer to get going here. But you can see that they're burning at a variable rate. My professor told me not to worry about the fact that it goes very slow at the beginning, because this is heavy air. And we can probably make this a much more efficient process to begin with. But essentially, all that we're getting right now is free. So even if we dump our first ones, 2,000 meters above the surface, that might not seem like we've come very far, but it's, that's 2,000 meters that is the hardest 2,000 meters to get, and we essentially did it for free. It's just an added bonus. So these are the outer fuel tanks, like the first stage to be dropped. This is the second stage to be dropped, and this is our central tank. This is the correct way for it to be displayed. All right, so these extra, this is probably overkill in terms of the amount of fuel we're bringing here, but this is the rocket that's gonna bring Jeb home, okay? I will skimp 0% to get my boy on this vessel. Okay, so some of them have run out, so we're gonna drop that, and now our ship is gonna become much lighter. And if we go to look at our fuel tanks here, you can see that 3 of them now, if I pull this out, give me a moment, 3 of them are not decaying at all. Actually, 4? Oh, these are the ones at the top. Of course, they're not going down. Where's our 800s? Yeah, there we go. It's actually working. So our 3 800 tanks are not decaying at all, except this one. No, the one at the bottom's good. The one in the middle's good. What about this? Oh, it's hiding behind there. There you go. So all the ones at 360 are the ones in the center, and they're going to stay at full fuel as we rise here. Again, get this off the screen because it's hideous. So we can look, and our apoapsis is getting up there. Again, it's a much slower launch in terms of the actual time spent than our previous rockets. It's clear we should probably throw a girder, or sorry, a strut in the middle here. But it should, in theory, allow us to travel slower, but a lot further. And also, like, our gravity turn is actually doable, even if it doesn't look that fantastic right now. And this seems right. It just seems like this is a much more elegant way to design rockets than what we were working at earlier. And we should note that this is using the earlier technology as well. Like, this is not even using the new engines that we've unlocked that are much more powerful, or the ones that are more fuel efficient, for example. So now we've lost those rockets, so now we just have our final rocket here that still has full fuel in this stage. And it looks a little gross. Like, it's not the best looking rocket in history right now. We could probably tweak that a little bit. And our apoapsis will stop it at like 80,000. There you go. And we'll get ourselves aligned on the 40 or on the horizon here. And this is, I think, the rocket that's going to be most capable and most modular is maybe a good way to describe it, you know? I don't think there's anything wrong with solid fuel boosters, but I mean, we could put some asparagus staging on top of some solid fuel boosters and go to the freaking, an alternate dimension. As far as I'm concerned. So, I mean, we don't have to warp to apoapsis. We know what our apoapsis is. It is 80,000, almost on the nose. So we'll go to ×5 speed for now. And then we'll accelerate prograde. And in theory, this rocket should be like... This stage should get us into orbit and allow us to use our lander exclusively. I mean, this is a lot of fuel. To use our lander module exclusively to, re-enter the moon's atmosphere, or lack of atmosphere. Re-enter the moon's sphere of influence is what I mean to suggest. And go pick up Jeb. And again, it's not just... Like, this is not the final version. I've already messed up going into orbit, which is hilarious. But this is not the final version of this rocket. This was just a proof of concept to show that, I have watched the tutorial. Still apparently can't get into orbit, but I watched the tutorial on asparagus staging, and I understand it. Unfortunately, I accelerated after apoapsis and have created a situation where I'm fighting myself to try to create orbit. And slowly but surely it's going to create an orbit, but maybe not the way that I would have wanted it to happen. We could just still aim for the horizon, I guess. I mean, I'm probably overthinking it, right? You should probably just accelerate on the prograde. But like I said, there's a lot of rocket science to learn. And I think I do have a bad habit of, I'm like, wow, there's so much to learn, I can't conceivably learn it all. So I just learn none of it. That's a silly way to approach things. Instead, I'm going to try to get into the habit, you know, if we can learn one thing per episode. That's a start, dude. Now, I gotta be honest with you, this rocket is still not... it's not 100%. But I think that's maybe partly because I botched the piloting of this section to begin with. Either way, if we could at least get to the point where this thing can land on the moon, I'm gonna be a happy camper. I almost want to just revert the flight and then redo this one completely, which I think is actually what I'm gonna do. So let's get... You know, we gotta get some practice flying this bad boy as well. So we're gonna... Now that we know it works, launch it. Probably we would be better off dumping some of these fuel tanks to begin with. We probably don't need that much extra weight dragging us down. We also could put better engines on here, or, you know, some of them could be swivels, and some of them could be better engines. In fact, let's go back, let's revert flight to vehicle assembly, and try, oh, that was weird. Try to improve upon this design as is right now. So, you know, why are we using a swivel when we could be using a skipper, for example, and then 4 swivels around it? Now, that means we're going to be using a skipper in our final stage, which is probably idiotic. But let's see how this goes. Look at that. I mean, oh boy. It's going to burn through fuel a lot faster. And you might, you know, the naysayers amongst us might say, NL, you had a good thing going there. Why are you going down into bad habits? To which I say, is it a bad habit to be a genius? Maybe doing our gravity turn a little on the early side here, but mostly I'm just happy that we can do the gravity turn. Something that hasn't always been easy for us here. So let's look at our apoapsis. It's rising like crazy. Anyway, the point is we're going to experiment with this, essentially. We also can slow it down a little bit. Alright. So, we did explode those fuel tanks. Which is probably not the way you want to do things by and large. Tomo, you want to leave? Just because of one rocket explosion, and all of a sudden your Tomo buddy wants to get out. You know, it's an insult. It's an outrage. But this is also combining the advice of the Asparagus staging with another thing that chat has requested that I pay attention to, which is the idea that you don't need to use 100% thrust all the time because there's really no need to be traveling at 1 kilometer per second and probably wasting fuel in the process. But anyway. Maybe just accelerate like slightly above the prograde marker. So our apoapsis keeps rising, but we're also pushing this vector out like as much as we can. And then it's gonna take way longer for this to reach like, you know, 70,000. But by the time we reach 70,000, we're already gonna have the vector stretched to the point where it's nearly orbital as is the game plan at least. It's already at 50, so we're closing in. So yeah, again, this episode was not really meant to be the episode where we bring him home, but it was meant to demonstrate that we could build a rocket that is not just going to be better for getting to the moon, you know, more repeatable, more consistent, for example, but also going to be better for future things, you know, for traveling even further, because it's an idea that's very extensible. So now we're twisting like crazy here. Let's rotate ourselves. I mean, this engine obviously doesn't even fit. But that's okay. Alright, so this... Wait. Yeah, that's our prograde marker. Don't be silly. And again, I don't even expect to necessarily land on the moon this time. But I think this has gone fine as a proof of concept right here. We have so much fuel remaining to get to the next section. Now, our apoapsis is like 88,000, so let's just, you know, speed it up here. Probably like 30 seconds from apoapsis right now. T-minus 39 seconds, sure. Again, that's what they always say about rocket science. It's inexact. So we're going to embrace that. And, oh, this is actually working as intended. Sick, nasty. Okay. So just keep, we can go like straight on the prograde here. Even go closer to the horizon because our apoapsis is higher than it needs to be. And look at this. I mean, again, the rocket is a little hideous, but it got the job done, dude. Okay, I think that's fine. We don't have a ton of fuel left, but, you know, the next step is very simple. Right about here, we're going to set a maneuver node. And that's going to pull on the prograde marker till it... Oh. By the way, thank you for the tips from people that are like, hey, you should burn... All of your moon maneuvers should be at the periapsis of your moon orbit. Like, as you get into orbit and then at periapsis, you make adjustments so that it makes it easier to land near Jeb, essentially. So our next maneuver is going to be in 36 minutes, and we're going to burn for 16 seconds. Do we have 16 seconds of fuel left in this thing? I think we might. Stop. Stop this. The thing is, admittedly, extremely, like, top-heavy right now. Again, I didn't really build this with the design of getting to the moon. It was more like this is a shell for us to work with in the future here. So, just get... It takes a lot. I mean, this is like several dozens of tons, probably. Good stuff. Now we're going to speed up, and it's in 35 minutes. So we really want to burn when it's T-minus 8 seconds. Could even go 100 speed. I'm not going to try to stop it on 8 seconds. That strikes me as being a little foolhardy. But let's try not to let our impatience get the better of us in this situation. Go down to like ×5 speed. Oh, we're getting so close to Kerbin, they won't let us go at anything but ×4. So you know what? That's A-okay. Thanks for keeping me honest, Kerbin. Hopefully our orbit isn't gonna... No, we're at 50,000. It shouldn't decay to the point that we're not able to escape. Although most of you want to do maneuvers at apoapsis because the air is, you know, or the gravitational pull is the least. Can't help but notice you're starting to deviate ever so slightly from your maneuver node there. Is that because of the... it's because we're re-entering Kerbin's atmosphere here, huh? That makes sense. There's like a little angular drag. So we should have made the periapsis higher. Yeah, you got it. You're doing fine. Nothing's gonna explode. I promise you this. Ain't nothing ever gonna explode on this. 3, 2, 1. We be burning, not concerning. Something, Shawnee Paul. I remember. Now we got a 37-second burn. I'll admit that at first glance, this doesn't seem like it's much better. But I would chalk that up to operator error. Actually, even more so than that, I would chalk it up to piloting error. Because we're doing... Oh, you might explode. We're doing a lot of our acceleration way too close. And things are getting like white hot. They can't take it anymore. They're white hat. It's a Canadian song they play on the radio. You know. Let's go. All right. Excuse me? We're not making it to the moon anymore? How so? Something went funky with our when we were near the atmosphere. But you know what? Learning to correct this stuff is probably as useful an exercise as anything else. Might also be that we're on a different engine now. I don't know. Give it a sec. 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 Oh, there we go. Okay. So the moon encounters in 21 days. The moon encounter 2 days. Yeah. Okay. Estimated burn of 0 in T-minus 18 minutes. I can do that. You ever need someone to burn for 0 seconds? I'm your guy. That's like some P90X Tabata stuff that I can get behind. So we can go like 100 speed. And I guess we want to burn at T-minus 0. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I can't wait 30 seconds. Don't make me laugh. I'll wait 5 seconds. I'm not going to wait 30 seconds. Time is money, baby. There we go. 1. Dude. That was textbook. Delete this maneuver, team. Okay. I know this is going to take... This is longer than our previous moon encounters. I mean, our previous moon... landings. We botched it a little bit. But we are also, getting the learning curve of figuring out how to do this stuff to begin with. All right, so we have now made it to the point where we are going to touch the moon. So how would we enter an orbit around the moon? Well, I think the easy way is just to add a maneuver. And then at this point, what do we want to burn at? This might change our inclination. Like our angle of inclination, so that we're not actually on the same level that Jeb is. But you know what? Let's try it anyway. This is going to be a little bit of a longer episode in case it wasn't abundantly clear. I really want to like constrict the orbit. I'm still learning, let's be honest, the basics of maneuver notes. This is not a circular orbit, but I'll live with it. So we're going to burn for 1 minute in 29 minutes. Remember, I'm not saying I'm learning at an alarming pace, but remember that there was a time where I was eyeballing every single maneuver that we were doing in this entire game, so I feel like we are making progress, even if sometimes I'm not using the tools as well as maybe I should. So we want to, 1 minute and 14 seconds is 74 seconds, so we want to burn with T-minus 30 seconds remaining, which is rapidly approaching. T-minus 37 seconds, I should say. And it's a long burn, but we got a lot of fuel. And if we wanted to just land on the moon, that's one thing. But we want to land and then rescue Jebediah. Probably not going to happen in this episode, but the process of landing where we want to land is apparently easier. I'm merging like 12 tips that I've gotten from the community into one right now. The process of landing where we want to land is easier if you've established an orbit around the moon first, or so I hear. Now I see how Michael A. L. Fox ends up with these you know, 3-hour-long RimWorld episodes. You just get distracted. You know, you're like, I've got something I want to do. And then while you've accomplished that thing that you want to do, there's like, you know, 10 other things that happen simultaneously that you now see that you're capable of. 2, a 1, a 0, and stop. Good maneuver. Okay. So now we're in orbit. So what we want to do is set a target, and our descending node is roughly at periapsis. So that's when we cross over the plane that this is on. So at our descending node, we want to add a maneuver. It's close to periapsis, which is convenient. And I think we want to pull on the anti-normal. Hold up. No. I want to adjust this maneuver, please. Okay. But then we also want to burn retrograde because we don't want to we don't want to, you know, die in the process. Retrograde, dude. You don't have to burn at the retrograde. Don't have to burn at the retrograde. Okay, well, I mean, this has done a bang-up job of, like, changing our orbit to be smaller. Now, this is essentially what I did in the Lost episode. Now, you don't understand. See, you gotta... The thing is, though, you gotta... I want this to be here. This might be a little too much to ask for, but I sort of wish that they just gave you... they were like, hey, you set this as your target, and you could add maneuver, take me to target. And I'm not talking about the department store of the same name, although I wish that I were. So, like, we want to touch down on the moon. Oh, we've almost done it. No, it's this way. Oh, you've almost got it there. Hey, Ruka, what's up, buddy? So this is probably, you know, several hundred... First off, set the moon as your focus, yeah. Probably several hundred meters or even kilometers away here. If you'd like to leave the office, please leave a message after the beep. Get out of here, cat. I thought you wanted to go. Make up your mind. Oh, okay. I don't know. You put another maneuver right here. You know, we're going to burn retrograde at this spot. Where's my space? Am I losing my mind? Was I pointing at the wrong thing this whole time? Okay, you got this maneuver. You got this maneuver. You're going to stretch it out like that. You're going to pull it up like this. Look at that. We've almost got it here. Then we want to stop ourselves. Somebody stop me. Please. Yeah. So this, like, sort of looks like we're going to land near Jebediah. So let's warp to this maneuver. It's probably a keyboard shortcut for this that is way better, but... Warp here. Now, see, the problem... The moon is rotating simultaneously. Okay. Yeah, we should have already been at the maneuver node. But we actually timed this surprisingly well. So for 20 seconds, or T-minus 20 seconds, we're going to burn here for 39 seconds. This, at this point, is just an academic exercise. I don't really expect this to work properly. You should be burning. But I'm trying, and I mean this sincerely. We might just work on some contracts next episode, because I'm feeling like a little starved for progress. But we'll see. For now, I think we've sort of done like a Peter Jackson. Like, we've done 2 episodes here. We really should have just crammed it into 1. But the asparagus staging was basically the reason for this episode to exist. This is just gravy on top of that because I'm kind of enamored with the idea that we can make the dream work here. So, of course, the downside is that the more fuel you use here, the less you have to land, take off, etc., etc. You've almost done something good here. Like, this is roughly where we want to land. If you could warp me here, perhaps. Like, this looks right, dude. Okay. So in 30 seconds, we're going to burn. So 65 seconds, we want to burn at like 32.5 seconds. If we can high five Jeb, life's a dream. 32.5 seconds. We still got to land this thing. That's the final step of the process here. Go. And the landing has never been the easy part. I think it's fair to say. Still 33 seconds burn left, huh? Like, we're tight on fuel, man. I think I botched the math completely, even though it's fairly simple. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and 0. Stop. We're landing close-ish. So you know what? At this point, I really think we just wait till we get close. Which we probably should do without warping. And remember that the steps in landing now have to be applied on top here. So we need to find our retrograde marker. And we want our retrograde marker to be pointing straight up. Which is going to adjust our trajectory. Oh, I mean, like, it's adjusted our trajectory way too much here. You know what? Just land. That's what I'm going to say right now. Land, and then we know that this works. And we'll be a much happier camper as a result of that. Just land this, end this episode on like a mildly positive note with the asparagus staging, with a promise to continue our quest for self-improvement in the future here. We want to be going towards the surface of the moon here. So, I mean, not at a rapid pace, but we were in danger of changing our acceleration to the point that we were escaping the moon's sphere of influence, so I don't want to do that. So yeah, we got fuel problems, but I did also do 100 maneuvers en route to the moon here. Okay. As far as I'm concerned, if we land this is a B+ episode. We changed a fundamental flaw with our rocket design. It's like we made sure that our house was built on a solid foundation. Previously, we built it on like a mud cemetery. What is a mud cemetery? Great question. But now we're no longer on a mud cemetery, which I think is very important for us. to have the minimum conceivable amount of mud cemetery. Okay. Again, we don't want to burn forever here, because... we're only going to get one shot at this before we have to revert. What does the ground look like? It's pretty patchy. Very wary about our fuel consumption here. I think we can speed it up just a little bit. Don't want to go down too fast, though. That's perfect, dude. You've done a great job there. Okay, so now becomes... the thing lands itself if we've picked a good spot. All we need to do is keep that retrograde marker centered and our speed not at 150 meters per second, ideally. It's amazing. This game does require a remarkable amount of focus. Even to play it at low a level as I am right now. 28 meters is a little too fast. This is patience. This is just patience. I've been walking the streets at night, just trying to get it right on my landing. Oh yeah, well my landing. Am I landing in like a freaking valley or something here, dude? Now we've done it. Oh, geez, Louise. Oh, he touched down. Recovery, recovery, recovery. Oh, this is a problem. Is that the moon? Is that Jeb? Jeb, is that you? Can you hear me? Oh, that's not gonna do it. Front flip. Full front flip into a landing. Full front flip into a landing. You look like an X-Wing. Dude, we can roll this over. I guarantee it, personally. Should probably not be skidding at this pace. And there she goes. Well, at least we can revert. So again, this was, let's say C+ episode now. Asparagus staging, it works. We'll probably do some contracts next time just to give me a break from abject failure. But for now, thanks for watching. I'm learning. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.